staff. Katie Baker, Melissa Cohn, and Roberta Kerr, who will present on this fabulous new addition to our website. Oh, and I should just, I just wanted to say a few words about Katie before I hand over the mic. Katie has been a really important member of the JHSSA staff since 2012, right? I think that's what
2011.
Okay, I'll have to change my records.
August 2011.
Okay. For the last 6 years has enhanced her work on our behalf, assuming responsibilities of program coordinator and office manager. And for the past year, she and our archivist Roberta Kerr have particularly been working intensely on the development of this exhibit. So thank you, Roberta.
Thank you so much, Sandra. And Sandra's going to walk over to the chair where I was because she's moving my slides. And she knows she has a copy of my script there. It's great to see so many familiar faces tonight, and it's also exciting to see a few new ones. The underlying dual focus of this evening's program and of the online family histories exhibit is continuity and expansion, recognizing both what was and what's next on a very personal level. So having such a welcoming audience fits the bill perfectly. Now, some of you have been with the JHSSA since the beginning and remember our various goals and activities as well as we do ourselves. But for those who joined us a bit later, our current project is a fairly direct extension of one of our first projects, a photographic exhibit called Land of Promise. So let's start there. Land of Promise, the Jewish Experience in Southern Alberta, was a large transportable gallery of more than 100 photographs and documents, complete with explanatory captions and additional text that included family histories. JHSSA's founding president, Jay Joffe, nobly assisted by Dinah Spindle, I even wrote it down, spent some 2 years coordinating a dedicated group of volunteers in the creation of the exhibit, which made its public debut in November 1992 in honor of Canada's 125th anniversary year and over 100 years of Jewish presence in Southern Alberta. After its initial display here at the Calgary JCC, the exhibit became an attraction at Fort Calgary before going on to Edmonton, and then, at the request of Jewish Historical Society of British Columbia, to a 3-week run in Vancouver. The exhibit's warm reception inspired the 1996 publication of an eponymous coffee table book that not only sold out, but is still in demand. Land of Promise, the book, was organized into 16 sections, including schools, businesses, organizations, and of course, lots of families. There was a pioneer section, a homesteader section, and an early families section, all written and compiled by JHSSA staff and volunteers, and mostly based on the material used in the exhibit. But there was an additional section that was created especially for the book, and it came mostly from you, from our members and supporters, in response to a JHSSA appeal to submit your own family histories. The appeal was community-wide, and you didn't have to be a member to participate, a JHSSA member to participate. You didn't even have to be living in Southern Alberta anymore, just as long as the family's roots were here and you chose to be part of it. The shortest entry we received was 37 words long. The longest was over 700. The majority of the submissions were written by the families themselves, and while most of them were fairly anecdotal, some took a more structured genealogical approach. Each submitter used their own sources, which may have included verifiable public records, but most were based on family records and memory, which may reflect less than perfect recall of a sometimes distant past. The parameters of the project didn't allow for fact-checking, and we were proud to publish them all in the style and format in which they were received. Turns out, there were a couple of problems with that. Not the style or format aspect, because we really like the variety of the entries, but the no fact-checking aspect, because guess what? There were errors in some of the entries. Over the years, we've learned about incorrect dates and disputed spellings, a country of origin noted as Hungary that another family member has since corrected vehemently to Romania. We even got one family history that only mentions 3 of the actual 4 children. And of course, with a printed book, we have no way of correcting these errors except in an errata available in the office. It occurred to us a while ago that if we moved the histories as a self-contained unit rather than as part of the book onto their own page on our website, corrections could be made as they're received within the histories themselves. And the more we thought about doing that, the more we realized what an opportunity it would present. Because first and foremost, while the original 70-odd submissions gave a snapshot of the Southern Alberta mosaic in the mid-1990s, the history of our communities didn't end there. Many of the founding families have moved away, but many have stayed and grown, and even more families have arrived. And while it's true that our community might not have as much visible presence in as many places these days, overall, we have a much broader community than we once did, with more organizations supporting more families. There have been notable changes to the homogeneity of our original communities, in which almost everyone had come from a fairly small chunk of Eastern Europe. And we want to make sure that more of us are included so that the online exhibit reflects us, not just as we were, but also as we are and as we're becoming, with more up-to-date information in a readily accessible format that can be easily updated and amended as needed, as the need arises. And an online format allows us to invite the broader community, Jewish and other, to more fully engage with our history. So with all that being said, let's dive in. You can find the Family Histories exhibit under Publications on our main page. It's the one that is in bold, 4 down, Family Histories exhibit. And if you click on it, that will take you to our main landing page. The main landing page has 3 elements: a short welcome with a link to the About section of the exhibit, a search bar, and an alphabetical gallery of families. The gallery can be displayed as a grid of snapshots or as a list. You can toggle between the 2 views on the right-hand side. Hopefully you can see the yellow blob marking the button, and view the families in whichever way you like. And you can click along the number buttons at the bottom to go through alphabetically. Just lost where I was. Yes, click on any family's name to read the family's profile. If you scroll to the bottom of the profile, you will find a button to take you back to the main exhibit. The About page will look vaguely familiar to anybody who's already read the fall issue of the Discovery Journal, which may or may not have reached your homes with the postal strike. If it hasn't, you've gotten the PDF in your email, and we hope you will have the hard copy soon. It includes, among other pearls, some information about the original exhibit and book, about the project to bring it to the website, and some brief historical context about the communities our early families inhabited. The search bar on our main page searches the text of each family profile, along with the family names. So if you type in Libin, you will get 7 results, one of which is the Libin family. You can click on any of the search result families, and once you found that Ruth Libin in the Ruth Karsh family was the connection, you can either click back to the search results or back to the main page with the buttons at the bottom. Submission guidelines can be found through a link on the About page. And I think it's worth reading them aloud, because our biggest point with this project is to have people add to it. So we are looking for a brief history and or genealogy of your family once they arrived in Southern Alberta. We're hoping for 100 to 500 words, 1 to 4 photographs. If you're sending us additional information for a family already included in the exhibit, the submission can be as simple as a short paragraph bringing the family information up to date. We'll list the source that we received the submission from. We won't necessarily assume that it's the author. So if you are the author, please identify that, and we will also identify that. I know in the book, it wasn't always the same thing, and we only kept note of who was the source. So if you look through now, most of the family entries just have sources and not authors. We welcome supplementary information about the families listed in the exhibit, as well as information about additional families. While we reserve the right to edit the profiles before publishing them, as with the original project, we are unable to fact check the information provided. So please ensure that you're confident in your information. If you're looking to confirm your information, we may have some resources to help. On our main page on the bar, there's a section that says research. Under research, there is a section that says doing research at JHSSA, and it is an excellent overview of the resources we offer, including links to many of our finding aids. Laura has already made a melodious reference to our oral histories, which are connected to this page and are listed on our website. So there's the page about oral histories, and then if we go to the next slide, that is what the list looks like. You can zoom in on your own computer. It's hard to zoom in on the slide, but it's got everybody that we have done up to, up to July 2nd, 2025. So you'll see the date of when that list was posted on the website at the top. If you know of somebody who was interviewed after that, or you think you know of somebody who was interviewed after that, please feel free to reach out to the office. It just means that the website hasn't been updated yet. That's where that is. Our subject reference files include material that we've been given by family and organizations, like copies of articles, family histories, and event programs. They're divided into our family files, for which the name is self-explanatory. So we have a list of the family last names. It does not include first names, so if you want to know which Cohen family we have information for, you do need to reach out to the office, because that's a little bit more than we'd like to publish online. And we have our subject file list, which includes different communities and organizations, as well as just overall subjects. Finally, we have original material that was donated to our archives that we preserve in special housing. Our archival finding aids include more detail to help us avoid unnecessary handling of the material, and those finding aids can also be found on our website. It's interesting to note that in spite of moving here from Winnipeg in the 70s, my family does. Just go back to stay there.
I'm just giving you a nice background.
That's not my family, that's someone else's family. It's interesting to note that in spite of moving here from Winnipeg in the 70s, my family does not appear in Land of Promise and has exactly one newspaper clipping in the subject files, plus a handful of photos in the JHSSA photo collection. We've now been here for 50 years, which is more than long enough to consider ourselves part of the community. Regardless of when you arrived, if we don't know about you yet, we would like to. Even if your roots here are 100 years deep, we may need an update from you, as is the case with our archivist, Roberta Kern, who gets the mic next.
Wow.
Well, it's true. My family on both sides is well represented in the JHSSA files, and both sides of my family have entries in Land of Promise. So I'm someone who just needs to update the extant records rather than start from scratch. And along with the factual bits, it turns out there's an anecdote that I'd like to add, but I haven't yet come up with a succinct way of telling this story, so please bear with me. The current entry on my dad's side, the Kerr side, mentions the family patriarch, Jacob Karasik, who came to Calgary with his wife Pearl and their young son, Benny, Maizeda. That's the fellow in the front row with his arms crossed. They came to join the eldest daughter in the family, Hannah, who had married Henry Belkin, who was a Calgary meat packer. Now, we knew that Jacob had opened up a small grocery store in Bridgeland, which had a fairly strong Jewish presence at the time, especially in the main commercial strip down on First Avenue. Some of you may still be familiar with Bridgeland Market, which is First Avenue and I can't even remember what street, fairly far east, is it? And that used to be Schuler's grocery for decades. It was a Schuler business. So that was Jacob and Pearl. And Zadie Benny didn't go into the grocery business with his father. He went into the cattle buyer meat packer route, which was his brother-in-law, Henry. So now we have to fast forward several generations. my eldest daughter and her husband moved into a rental apartment upstairs of the Gurlitz block. That's the very beautiful building that you see in the corner of that slide. So one day, my son-in-law is reading the community newsletter and he says, "Hey, our building is in here." And a minute or two later, he says, "Hey, didn't your family used to be Karasik?" And it turns out, maybe some of you are going to jump ahead a little quicker than we did. My Zeta Jacobs store wasn't in that main commercial section on First Avenue. It was in one of the secondary commercial sections on Fourth Avenue. Sure enough, the kids were living right above it. But hang on, the story gets better. I didn't mention the date before, but Pearl and Jacob came to Calgary in 1922. Now let's fast forward again, get back to my daughter and son-in-law, and my grandson Arlo, who was born at home, is literally upstairs from Zeta Jacobs' store 100 years later in 2022.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a wiggly world, isn't it? That's my family update. And now it's my pleasure to introduce one of JHSA's wonderful part-time staff and granddaughter of our much beloved and much missed Manny Cohen, Melissa Cohen, with a historical version of the Cobbler's Children Who Go Barefoot.
I don't know, though. I want to know.
It's like because cobblers make shoes,
Okay.
but their own children don't get shoes because they're making shoes for their job.
Huh? Okay, I understand the parable, but what does that have to do with me?
Because Manny was a historian and his
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Okay.
It's clicking, it's clicking, it's clicking. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Roberta. I will pull up the notes on my phone now. Difference in generation. Roberta had paper. I've got my electronic version. Yeah, when Katie and Roberta asked me to do this, I thought, wow, this is gonna be so easy. The entire reason that I decided to work with the Historical Society was to honor the memory of my Zeta, because he worked pretty extensively with JHSSA on a bunch of projects, as well as stuff like bringing the Little Synagogue on the Prairie to Heritage Park. So, and I knew that he knew a lot about the Cohens in Alberta because the very first Cohen in Alberta in our family was Hyman Cohen, his father. And he took extensive, he like kept as much documentation relating to that as he possibly could. So I was like, wow, the JHSSA has a history project. He knew all the history, bada bing, bada boom. This is gonna be so easy. I'm just gonna look in Land of Promise and my speech will be half written. So I flipped to the back of the book and I look at the Cohen section and the Cohens and the Cohens. There's 3 Cohens and none of them were actually my Cohens. So I had to enlist the help of looking at some articles and also talking to my dad to get a hopefully brief overview of the Cohen family over the past 100 years. My great-grandpa Hyman Cohen moved from Russia to North America in the early 1900s and eventually to Alberta with the help of his first cousins. He began apprenticing as a cattle buyer before eventually owning his own ranches. After World War I, he caught the Spanish flu, and while he was at the hospital, one of the nurses took a liking to him and thought, gee, this guy seems like he would be a great match for my daughter. And so Hyman married the nurse's daughter, Mary Goldenberg, and the 2 of them had 4 children, Annette, Sam, Emmanuel, and Maurice. Manny was born in the 1930s, and he grew up around Calgary as well as Lethbridge. After graduating high school, He went to Oklahoma University in the States and he played football, but unfortunately during the course of his education, Hyman was in a train accident. And so he had to come back to Alberta to help run the family business. In the course of this, in running the ranches, he would often pilot around from ranch to ranch to help run it in the family aircraft. After his career in ranching, Manny and his brother Sam began a dehydrating business, which was basically dehydrating alfalfa to make cattle feed. And this business was in Vauxhall, where my baba Donna was working as a home ec teacher. And she and Manny were introduced to one another, and they eventually went on to have 2 kids, my Uncle Michael and my dad Jeff, who is in the back, if you want to say hi. I'm gonna force him into the spotlight. Yeah, so they had kids. Unfortunately, the chemicals during the dehydrating process negatively impacted Manny's health. So eventually he got out of that business and into running motels in Waterton, as well as real estate appraisal. My dad actually spent a lot of his summers in Waterton at the motels. Even as a kid, he was super into computers. So after high school, he decided to do, hold on, it's something computers. It's industrial electronics at SAIT. And while he was at SAIT, he began dating my mom, Elaine, who was studying geography. They dated, they got married. Eventually, a little bit after they got married, my mom actually worked a bit with my Baba and Zeta in the real estate appraisal before, okay, we got the IT, we got the IT, right? I said the IT stuff, right? No? Yes, okay. He studied industrial electronics and became an IT person with Schlumberger for 21 years. And in the course of that, he traveled all sorts of places, not just around Canada and the States, but other countries such as Mexico and Saudi Arabia. Eventually, his job took him to Texas, and we moved there for roughly 6 years. So I was born in Texas. Then we moved back, and my sister was born, and now I am here. One of the things that my Zeta once said in an oral history, it's a direct quote, so I definitely got to get my phone up for this one, was that, okay, here's the quote. If we don't take the time to tell about our parents, our grandparents, ourselves, then it will be gone. Archiving things that are already gone is a love. We owe a debt of gratitude to our grandparents and parents for picking this beautiful country that we live in. And I really liked that quote because I agree. I think that it's very important to keep family history alive, to make sure that it is available to your other family members. And that's one of the really beautiful things about the online project, is that it's so readily accessible. You know, like if I had my family history written up in this project, I will say it would have been a whole lot easier for me to write to this speech. But it also would have been just a lot easier to, yeah, just access the information, know about my family quicker. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So please submit your family histories to the project.
Okay, thank you so much, Melissa. We are looking forward to your written version of the fourth Cohen family history. And thank you all for being here and for, I'm going to thank you in advance for the additions and the corrections that you make as you look through the exhibit itself. And while I'm on the topic of thanks, I'm going to thank the people that made this project happen. So we got an amazing grant from Historical Society of Alberta that helped make this project possible. Ryan at Digital Lion was our web developer to work on the exhibit. He did our website, I don't know, it was 2012 when we redid our website. He did our website, he did the veterans database. He's very wonderful to work with, and we were very pleased to work with him on this project. And most of all, we are particularly grateful for all of the submissions from so many current and former members of the Jewish communities of Southern Alberta. We would quite literally not be here without you. So that is here, and this is our AGM. But now we're going to look at where we're going to be next. The next place Jewish Historical Society is going to be is, slide, the JHSSA Memorial Program, which is coming up on Sunday, November 16th at 1 p.m. And as is our tradition, we have a draw this evening for 2 tickets just to this program, not series passes, just tickets for this program. For people who have renewed their membership by the end of last week. I need someone who's not me to come and reach their hand. And we'll probably draw 3. Sheila. We'll draw 3 because sometimes the first people we draw, we find out they have a pass. Drum roll, please. Thank you. Okay, so our first draw is for Nelson and Debbie Halpern. They are number 1. So if they take those, then those tickets go to them. But if for some reason they have passes or they're out of town, et cetera, Sarah Garinsky. Thank you, Melissa.
No problem.
Marnie and Darren Bondar. And just because there was 1 year where really the first 2 people actually already had passes. So 1 more just for good luck, Barb Jaffe. Okay. There we have Nate and Nadia Feldman. Okay, so hopefully between those, somebody can make use of these, and hopefully we will see many of you there. The film, we actually have 2 films this year. We are so lucky. We've got the feature film that is Swedish Kite, Yiddish Life Crisis. It's getting late for me. I have small children. Yid Life Crisis in Stockholm. But I'm actually personally more excited about Bizarre, the story that needs to be told, because that is a Calgary-made film. It's just a short 15-minute piece that we'll start with, and it's they used a lot of our resources. It's going to be a lovely film. After that, still in November, we will be co-sponsoring a program at Jewish Book Festival, Writing It Right, Family Histories in Print. We have an author panel, Isaac Paul, Sydney Sharp, and Betty Sherwood. Maxine Fishbein will be our moderator, and it will be about all of these people have done family histories, either their own or other people's, and with quite different experiences. So if you are somebody who is interested in getting your family history in print, or just like books in general, please come. It's going to be a lovely discussion. Do I have 1 more slide, or is that it? Sandra teased this. Keep your eyes open. We don't have a release date yet, but it will be this year. Our walking tour from 2017, Building Community, which went online as a Google Maps tour, will finally be a book. And it's coming out in honor of our 36th anniversary, which is coming up this year. So watch for information on that, because it is in progress and it's looking amazing. So thank you. I'm going to pass it to Sandra for very final goodbyes.
Well, thank you very much